Happy December to whatever sign this is. You obviously know who you are before I do. We're going to jump right in and see who we'll be reading for next. Let's see. Oh my god. Virgies, am I right? Perfect. Happy December to you all. Virgos, I think you're going to be, I mean, for me, you're always super comfortable in an earth, you're ending December in an earth season. You know, I think Virgo's always really held very well by Capricorn. They're like the upgraded version, you know, the full spectrum version. So I think you guys are going to have a very solid comfort level in terms of December. But this is super huge. Your message for December is all about activating leadership. So Virgo, I can tell you from top to bottom, you have had probably the most initiating year of the snake. You were very much in alignment with year of the snake. There were so many things that you were called aspects of self, previous consciousness, relationship dynamics, you know, communities, environments that you were being asked to really purify, to like release from your energy. And I think a lot of the year, I really just sent so many of Virgos, it's like, I don't understand why I'm being asked. Like, why am I being, and it was kind of funny that I talked about December being about like returning to the sense of comfort, because I think you were very uncomfortable all year in a lot of ways, you know, where it's like, I mean, just why am I being asked to shed X, Y, and Z? Like, why am I being, it's just a lot at the end of the day, Virgo, in a lot of ways. Because I think, you know, perhaps this is one of those years where just like being so in it, being so head underwater, you know, and they tell me, you know, it's just like that. It's like spirits like telling you to breathe easy while your head was underwater. But I think the higher message is that like there's a leader in you that I don't think the whole point is like you've lived your life up to this point not seeing the leader that God really wanted you to like to stand up and to be, like to call you forward to be. And I think it's been enough cycles where this is not able to be activated because of all the aspects of self that need to be purified. Again, this is like, we spent a very intentional year. We talked about it with you, really coming back online to your spiritual health and well-being. And really dealing with and navigating that. And really, like I said, since 2024, we've been doing a lot of work on like acknowledging some of these aspects of self that are reflected in outside energy, partnerships, relationship dynamics, things like that, that are also like connected to, again, parts of your own soul that really needed to be purified. Again, like there can be a lot of wounding, you know, incarnating with Virgo placements in general, leads you to be and embody the purification in a situation, like the purity of a situation. And so a lot of Virgos also have like a lot of experiences where it was like grimy, slimy, and slimy. Like you had to get down with the dogs, and you were the energy that was like super uncomfortable in that expression specifically. And so much of your life in response to like triggers and wounding that you've gone through has been about like, this is too ghetto for me. I want to clean it up. I want to connect with people that are going to take me out of this experience. I want to, you know, I want to have order and structure and routine for myself. And that's really your energy and your MO. And that's amazing. But again, this is also kind of like, you know, true leadership. To me, I always define it as like just being the person that goes first, just being the person that's like, I'll do it. And so I think you're also realizing that, like, you know, I think you had this also like warped perception of what a leader was. Like a leader is someone who doesn't acknowledge that they've ever made a mistake. Because I think that's also a part of your personality that needed to be worked on with the divine, so that you could be a more open, receptive, and, you know, empathetic person. Like so that you can be someone that people can relate to a little bit more. Because I think you always used to think of leadership as like, I'm the leader in the group because I don't have any problems. And that's never the truth. Like you have just as many flaws and things and human aspects of yourself as the next person. Even if you do rule a sixth house, you do rule like routine, you do rule like cleanliness, the clarity of life, the order, the divine order of all things. Like you do represent all of that. And you do kind of embody your sacredness, but it isn't because you were without, you know. So again, like just opening messages a lot about like maybe this 2025 like forced you to really look at all the stains, the shit stains in the lagoon, as we like to say at the studio, where it's like you had plenty, like I think God was like kind of dealing with you all year. It was like you got plenty of shit stains in your lagoon while you were talking, because I think you were like, you really wanted to focus on how you're a leader, but you are only in the leadership position that you're in, Virgo, because of the fact that like you have, I think it's like you have a botched understanding of why you make such a good leader. It's like nobody's disputing that, but you make an incredible leader, but not because of why you think, not because it's like this prudent take where it's like, I've never made a mistake, because that would just be fraudulent. It's actually because of how much you look at, analyze mistakes in order to create and course correct the path. That's actually what makes you like such a strong leader. So anyway, that's the little opening message for you, 5 minutes, and let's see what we got for your current energy. Love that right now. So December's what? Lovers, 10 of Cups. You are completely in alignment with the Gemini full moon, which makes sense because this is such a mercurial time. And there was something about it where I was just feeling like you're really comfortable in December. Like you're comfortable in this dynamic, I think Sagittarius is also a good counter to some of your, like, it's just a good composite. It's very polar. Like it's like a masculine and fire principle and you're a feminine earth symbol. So I just feel like, this is about you finally being able to, the lover speaks to what is ordained for us, right? And I think you're coming to this understanding that this is a huge message. Like, it doesn't matter. I think for the first time for you, Virgos, like you're having clarity on what, and this could be through the polarity of realizing that like what you're creating and building, maybe it needs to be filtered out, maybe it needs to go, but it's like, I think you had a lot of long-term questions for your creator. I think Virgo is very like, not skeptical, but I just feel like you have a lot of questions when it comes to like the realities of God and like how that really, like, not whether it just exists or not, but the truth behind religion, the truth behind like, why do we do these things? And I think through this long journey where now you finally have clarity that like, cause say like you're someone who's like, I've been in this long-term partnership, but I've never really known specifically, like maybe it's good, it's not bad, it's like whatever, but you've really wanted to connect with like, what are the things that God like actually has for me? And I just feel like December, you're really gonna know for certain, like certain questions that maybe you had about like, is this really like what God intended for me, or is this something I'm just doing? I just find that because you're finally going to be presented in December, the things that are really for you, the things that it is capable for you to feel 10 cups towards, it's going to really juxtapose and help you define that from now on. Like you're going to really know internally, which is huge. I think that's the whole point of your 2025 like character art, which is like, how do I know when something is like truly divinely orchestrated and being brought for me to me? Because I think you've been so, again, you're always working from the framework of like, for you, whether it's like coming out of survival mode or just making sure you can stay healthy and well, you're really like always fixated on like doing that in the posture of like handling that and knowing that that's something that would be your own responsibility. Yet you don't really save a lot of time for the kismet stuff. You don't really save a lot of time because I feel like there's like this skeptic in you. There's this like part of you that's like, yeah, I got nice things, but I had to work for them. It doesn't really always feel like some of the stuff that you have like feels like maybe, it's not that you're not grounded or don't feel like it's a blessing, but it doesn't, I think you always felt like because I'm Virgo and I've got this like, it's like, I can't really relate to people when they start talking about the like destined and fated stuff, because it's like, I don't know exactly through the clarity of my own experiences what feels like God sends or what just feels like something I got to make happen. So this December brings you this, whether this is outside of you and it's something that you've locked yourself out of and you can't obtain, or it's actually because you literally have this type of partnership in your life where it's like, it's opening up to you. It's like, yeah, this is an example of something that like, or even like I said, if you're just seeing it outside of yourself, like where you're deeply connected, it's like, this is definitely something that like would be ordained by a higher power. This is definitely something that's like, that is truly like for you. This is very specific. This feels like something coming out December that's like letting you know, it's just confirming whether this is actually a relationship, this is like a job, this is a community, this is whatever, but this is like, this is a counterpart energy where it's like, God made this for me, for the person that I truly am in my spirit, and that's why it has the capacity to go all the way, to be total fulfillment. Yeah. And I think it's, like I said, Virgo, also another thing that I'm going to tell you is like, you might be called to go first. You might be called to lead a purification, but you need to know that the purification that you're being, whatever it is that you're being asked to let go of, is because this is ready for you now. Again, because I just see it crossing by this, where it's like 6 of Swords, the Chariot, which is like, in reality, that's like, you're going to have to surrender and let God move you through this portal. It also kind of means like, I just kind of feel a sense of like, you're just taking your valuables. This is like, you're taking your stuff because it's time for spirit to like move this forward. I think also there's just not going to be any more time for, it's not just like complacency, but like God doesn't want you to think of your time as like wasted. There's no like just getting through the day. And so some of this heavier like initiation, some of this like course correction from spirit, right? Some of this like major arcana, like the Lovers, the Chariot, Spirit getting you, like, you need to be ready to go through this portal, I feel, and it's coming December, and that's why some of the restructuring, like I said, you could be a Virgo at any vibration, it could be high vibe, low vibe, it doesn't really matter, but it's like some of this loosening up where it's like you just can only take your valuables, and you kind of it looks like you're just going on this travel and this distance. It's like probably 10-10, very unexpected, probably very much like, I don't think that the December, because I think you understand kind of like what the trajectory and the arc of your year could be. I think you even understand like what's possible for you to end on, but I don't think you quite understand that some of this, it almost feels like Uranian, because it's a lot of like spiritual truth energy. It's also like working with the chair, you know, so it's like some of this stuff is also just like portals that come up through spirit that are actually just trying to get to purify what needs to be, because you need to be prepared to, like, you're just starting a completely new chapter come December that's about you leading in how you choose and align your choice and will with that of the divine for the first time. I think whatever life you were building where it was like you weren't following what God instructed, you were just like, again, doing the routine thing, doing the self-preservation thing, doing the whatever thing, yet you can't do that any longer. And that's what I'm saying. It's like maybe it doesn't, because you could have been someone who had 10 pentacles building that previous like world in life, but spirit just wants to reduce you down to, I just want to prepare you 11 for the reduction down to just your most valuable. This is just like traveling with just that. This is like very much like on the Titanic, like, you know, it's like when the rescue boats come to take you to safety, like you can only take like your most valuable things, because I think it's just like time for that type of transition. Let's see what's going on. There it goes. Beautiful. I just don't think you expect that. Yeah, totally, exactly. I think you're being shook and loose. There's something that you were working really hard on, a collaborative partnership, that you're really going to be like shook and loose from, because it just has to do with like I think that's just the hardest part. I think for you Virgos, like sometimes you don't really choose to like step into the ways that God has called you to leadership, because it's really hard for you to detach from like what you build regardless. You hold yourself with such an esteem. It's like these are things that like maybe even like you're proud of the fact that you committed, but again, this is the Three of Pentacles in reverse. This is not a collaboration you were supposed to be imparting on. Does that make sense? Because there is something that is truly divine, like definitive for you. There is something that is truly like meant to be like shaking with you. And that's why it's like no matter what you were trying to do, just like don't be too upset, because I think, like I said, 2025, it could have been you like working on a lot of things that you really wanted to be a certain way or wanted to work out, but I think you're realizing it's not. That's why you always have that exhausted life. That's why you don't always have like tons of extra to give, because it's like you're doing too much. It's like it's not our job to just like define what the world system is supposed to be and how this world is supposed to work. That's like the creator. Like we're just here in the creation's image, doing our part in the creative part of what God is planning. So same within the recent past, it's like a high priestess. Also, like, I think there was a lot of heads up. I think there was a lot of spirit, like spirit was really trying to bring you, you know, this priestess. It's like, just prepare yourself for, like, can you stand on your own value alone would have been the most helpful information for you to have all 2025, because you just need to be prepared for that, not in like a negative way. It's just like you need to be able to be prepared with like, because the Four of Pentacles is like what you use, what eternal value you have to propagate something bigger. So it's like, if I lost everything tomorrow, but I'm actually like a really valuable person in general, like it might take another cycle to build back up what I had, but this is the capacity that you have in order to do that. So again, this would really matter. But again, this is all about bringing you back online. I feel no matter what your relationship with like a higher power really is, whether you believe in that or not, it doesn't really matter. I think the whole point is that like you were archetypes that are deeply spiritual, right? The high priestess, which is definitely specific. The lovers, which is like God's decree in terms of who and what is for you specifically. Those are things that are really deep, require deep connection with the creator. And if you have not developed that, I think that's the only reason there was so much shaking you down to like the bare minimum of what you have. Also, another side note is like, perhaps there's a lot of development that you needed to have and maybe still need to have in terms of like your own sense of value, because it can't just be, because I think spirit wants you to be able to go into partnership where you can bring your most valuable self to the table as well, instead of like the partnership like being codependent in some way where it's like it diminishes like your individual personal value in a lot of ways. Yaski. And I think this is the kind of primordial, this is the overhead message, right? It's like Seven of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands, when we talk about it, the queens of any kingdom are going to definitely be the individuals who like decide what we are and aren't going to do. So in the realm of the Magic Kingdom, the Wands Kingdom, what we create, this is the part of you that's been deciding what you are and aren't going to grow all 2025, right? And so this is December, right? You're looking at the bush of all the things that you decided to grow, which is, I think, the other part of this is like there's going to be a lot more accountability for Virgos, especially at a spiritual level. Because I think it's looking like whatever's growing in your bush, like you're looking right at it, and you do know it is definitely connected to you. Whether these are good fruit, rotten fruit, doesn't even matter. You know it all has to do with your choices, and I think the reason you're being brought back to like all of this like shows me choices. All of this has to do with like what you chose to create. Even the Three of Pentacles that like looks like you're being shooken from now. It's like because like you know in the end it's like you chose to create this, you chose to pick the partnerships you did, you chose the life you live, you chose your philosophies, you chose your morality, and you chose what you wanted to grow and harvest, right? And so then it kind of is, like I said, it's just kind of like a silencing kind of frequency, because it's just like now it's just about comparing like what you chose to create with your life to what God actually had for you. And I think December is giving you that, and it could be kind of a lot of different things. Yeah. And then in the near future, Virgo too, it's just like, I think when it comes to your creator, like it's about reconnecting your ability to feel the creator in your life, right? I think your near future brings you back to the Two of Swords, because that's a step you need to go back to, discerning from the feeling. I think this is a very visually appealing era for Virgo's ending, where it's like, I want to look the part, but I don't feel the part. And I think in the near future, God is trying to create for you. The creator wants you to know they're a creator, and they want to give you experiences where you can close your eyes and decide what feels the best, who feels good, you know what I mean? I know that's really specific to me. It's like, I think for me, when I was trying to figure out like what was going to be best for my studio, I think I really got presented a lot of opportunities to decide how people make me feel. Because people could look a certain way, but that wasn't really super reliable for me in the Year of the Snake personally. So a lot of my deductive reasoning just comes down to like how I feel, especially in certain ways where I was like showing and extending grace, because there are people that make me feel really great, very unique, very one of one. Their energy signature, regardless of their consciousness level and their wounding,